Hey YouTube, here's a video I don't normally do. This is, I just bought this with ideas of converting it into a Bucky caster or an iron brew caster. Just bought it off, I think it was Gumtree, I think it was Facebook Marketplace. But basically this is one of these Wii guitars, which I was under the impression that all Wii guitars were absolutely shit and was absolutely pointless. But I bought if you look back, I bought a Gibson Maestro acoustic that worked even though it was a really short scale, and I've got this wee my Wii V, which is a Samick Greg Bennett, and it's actually an even shorter scale than this, and it works. I did put with 10s on it. It was you had to play really light, otherwise you bent the strings and put the chords out of tune. So what I did is I put 12s on it, and it's totally fine. It's a rockable guitar. Apart from the fact I like calling it a Wii V. So I bought this one. It was cheap, second hand. So I looked these up. These are the only one I could find online. It was exactly the same. Was 75 quid, and it came with like a wee amp, a lead, a bag, a strap, etc. And the guy I bought it off said his son got it 3 years ago, and basically it's sat in the corner of his room ever since then, never been played. So the strings on it are 3 years old, and they wouldn't have been good strings to start with. So I was just wondering if I could make it play. Right, to start off, no, it was absolutely pish and completely unplayable by any standards. The action was about half an inch here. The nut was atrociously cut. You're talking, it's like there was no way. So basically what I've done here is I've shimmed the neck to get the action down to a reasonable amount. There's no truss rod in this. Don't think it really needs one because it's only such a short bit of wood, but it doesn't have a truss rod. And the nut, I filed it down myself to make it fit. I mean, it was sitting so high that it was absolutely, an open string between that and the first fret was just about 4 notes. It was atrocious. So now I've managed to make it sort of play. Still got the original strings on it. So you get one single coil pickup and a volume control. I'm going to have to put another nut on it though, because although the E, A, D and G strings were all, well, I'm going to say an inch high, they weren't an inch high, but you know what I mean. The E string is too low, so it's buzzing a little bit, so I'm going to have to put another nut on it anyway. But these are things that aren't happened with the fact it's 3 years old. This guitar would have been like that when it was new, and okay, it would have had newer strings on it, but they weren't. These strings were never stretched in either. So basically, if you're learning to play the guitar, you're going to buy this for your kids so they learn to play the guitar. They're not going to learn on it. The only chance you've got of them learning to play this is if you get somebody like me, or you can do it yourself to sort out the nut and shim the neck to get the action down to a reasonable amount. So I've got it kind of working. Wee bit of techniques involved in not pulling the strings down too hard, but that was the same with that one there. For Thingy, this is a 20-inch scale neck on it, which isn't too bad for normal scale. A Strat be 25.5, a Gibson 24 3/4, and like a Mustang or something's about 22 odd. So it's not that short actually. I was looking to compare it to this. This is shorter. Yeah, that's a 19-inch scale neck, and I got it working. That's a significantly better guitar, let's be honest. I think I've seen them go for a couple £100. So I reckon what I'm going to do, these are still the old strings, so once I've done it up, I might do something with the pickup as well, maybe put a humbucker in it or something. It was actually intoned alright, so I think somebody's been at this and they've adjusted the intonation to try and get the intonation good, but they didn't know what to do about the nut, and they didn't know what to do with the action. So that's me playing it through a £400 Laney valve amp though. First pedal on. And you can bend, because it's short scale, you can bend it by a million notes. that will not hold it in tune though. Yeah, well pulled that out. I think the tuners aren't slipping, I think the strings are just stretching because they've been on it. If you ever have strings that are like 3 years old and have never been played, they'll never tune. Never. Not really. So obviously I will be putting strings on this. Obviously the fuzz pedal is probably a great rat. So it's not it doesn't actually sound that bad. But hold on, I'm going to run it through the tuner again just while I'm here. And because it's such a short scale, when you turn the tuners, you know, one wee turn turns at about 5 notes, so it's really, really damn fidgety to tune. That again might be something to do with these old strings. So I will be doing another video of this once I've converted it into... I suppose if I was being clever about it, I'd probably make it an Iron Brew one, because then, you know, someone could buy it for their kid. But really, to be honest, see if you're going to buy, if you want to buy, your kid wants to learn to play the guitar, don't even look at this sort of thing. It's the bits are there, so it should be you know, buy them a plastic guitar for a tenner that doesn't have strings on it, you know, that you press a button and it plays a tune if you want them to just have something to play about with. Something like this, you're never going to learn on it. It's never, you know, I mean, I've been playing for forever, and I can make it sound sort of like a guitar, but a beginner's got no chance. Especially when you're talking about holding down chords, because when you hold down chords when you're starting, you have to hold it down as hard as you can. So G when you're holding the strings down. That's what happens when you hold down the strings as hard as you can. So basically it's a no-no. So the amp it comes with, this is a cbsky or cbsky, Crosby, Bill, Sykes, Kyle and Young. So whatever. It comes with a wee amp as well. A wee runs on a 9 volt battery. It's called an M4G, so I would think 4 watts, probably about right. Volume, tone, and a slider switch with off, on, and drive channels. So I will try that out. I believe I think the lead that it came with, I'd imagine, is probably the lead that came with it, one of these horrible moulded at both end ones. But lead's a lead. It'll probably break, but it's working just now, so turn off the big amp, right? Right, so we'll turn this on. Go for the clean channel first. That's a clean both dials. So that's at half volume on clean. I'll put it up to full volume on clean. Sharp. Turn the tone down. So tone completely off. I reckon if you're camping or something, I get away with that. Sounds like it's playing like an AM radio. I'll try turning the tone up. So this is the tone at 3/4. scraping nails down a blackboard. Right, so having done this before, I realised that you can't just turn it straight onto the distortion channel, so I'll put it back down to half volume, put the distortion on. The volume when you're on the distortion channel seems to create a lot of drive as well, so at half volume, if I turn the volume up to 3/4, it gets more distorted. I wish you could get that sound. Well, I don't really wish, but it'd be much better to be able to get that sound at half the volume. So I'm aware it's sounding pretty hacky at the moment, so my mission is to try and make it work better. I think having better strings on it's going to make a huge difference. It's just that the A chord sounds hacky. It really does. I'll turn it to half and half again. Unless you really just rest your finger on the strings. It's intonated correctly. Actually, when I was down at Download Festival, my pal Wayne had brought an amp for the guitar, and I was using the Wee V, and it was an Epiphone, and it looked really cool. Well, it was exactly that amp, apart from it was a sort of tweed covering on it, so it looked like a vintage Fender or something like that. And instead of having a slider switch for off, on and drive, it was a rotary switch, but it was still the same thing, and it actually sounded alright. So I was using this guitar, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try see if I can get the amp to sound a bit better using this guitar. I might run this through the tuner, those things I just picked up out the attic. I'm amazed if it is still in tune. Yeah, I didn't think it would be. Right, so there's back into this one has a tone control on it and a humbucker. Yeah, see, already it sounds an awful lot better. It's also much easier to play, but that might be to do with the 12 strings. These are both tuned to E as well. I have heard people before tuning them up, but I mean, I don't like using other tunings. It just makes things difficult. You're sitting there going, oh, so I'll play an E shape, but that's actually makes it a G. So I don't like black guitars, because if you're wearing a black t-shirt you can't see how cool the VV is. This is an awesome wee thing. Yeah, so as you heard, the cbsky guitar didn't sound that bad through the good amp. This guitar didn't sound too bad through the wee amp, but when you got the two of them together it sounded pants. As I said, I would, if you were going to buy this here guitar for a daughter or a son, do work on it. So you might be able to get it to play. I don't know, I mean, the only one I could find online was at Smith's Toys or something like that, and it was 75 quid. I don't know if that was including postage or anything, but totally not worth that. And it's unless you got it, you know, you paid somebody to set it up. But I think even if you went to a guitar shop and told them to set up something like this, they would either just say no, or they would charge you 100 quid to do it, because it's an awful lot harder to set this up. The nut has to be much more accurately cut. You have to cut it much lower, because everything's smaller, the tolerances are much less. So I would very much, if someone was looking to buy a brand new guitar, I would, if you look back about a month or two ago, there was a Squier Bullet Mustang, which is 22-inch scale, I think it was. It's a slightly bigger body, but you know, the scale's sort of the same, and it's a real guitar. It was good, you know, as opposed to being, I'm going to be able to make this acceptable. I might be able to make it good, but I don't know. It's pushing it a bit. And I would say that if you're talking about buying this for 75 quid, or buying the Squier Bullet, which I think was 110 quid, you know, just don't buy an amp for it. Sod it, don't need that. Get one of them later. But I mean, you'd be much more likely to play, or be able to learn to play, playing the Squier Bullet with no amp than you would with this, with an amp. Because as you heard, it sounds pants through that. That might be something to do with the pickup being just not really what you want. So I think what I'll do with this, do a Bucky fire or do an iron brew it? See, if I did it to iron brew, people would sell it to their kids, but if I did Bucky, they can't sell it to their kids. But then again, I wouldn't want to give this to a kid and get them to learn, because it's just give them the Mustang or something like that, or even just a Strat or a Telly. They're again a bit bigger, but the Mustang's a decent guitar, and also the Mustang, if you bought that, it would be worth money afterwards. You don't really see them that cheap, so you're paying 110 quid for it. So if they don't do anything with it, you know, after a couple of years it just sits in the corner, you're going to get 80 quid for it, something like that, back, assuming it's not all bashed and dented. But you know, it's like 70-80 quid is what it's going to be worth, so you're going to be losing 40 quid. Whereas something like this, you buy this for 75 quid, that guy, you keep it for 2 or 3 years and basically just put it in the bin. You know, you're not getting anything for it. I'm not going to lose money on it, but if I took my time into account, I definitely am going to lose money on it. I mean, I know that. But I mean, I kind of see this as the possibility of basically like what I did with the VV as a sort of travel guitar. You know, taking it to parties and the like, and actually I've got a wee amp, which I don't think it's got a battery in it. Like something like this. So I had to be Marshall when that sold. You know, something that clips onto your belt, so you can have your guitar and a wee amp in the corner, and then play, you know, drunk with your pals, basically. So a Buckfast one would probably be pretty good for camping or anything like that. I mean, it is smaller than a normal guitar. Not that much smaller. I mean, if I compare it to like normal guitars I've got lying out, there's a Telecaster. okay, you can look at it as actually quite significantly a bit smaller. Doesn't feel that much smaller when you're playing it, but I mean, I suppose if you're trying to put this into, you know, just in a case or something like that, it's an awful lot. It's also weight. It doesn't actually be that much different. But if I was learning, I would. Unless you're a kid, I wouldn't bother. Unless you're really small, I wouldn't bother with this. And even then, get it. If you're into guitars and you can do setups, then maybe you can buy one of these for your. And even then, what we'd do then is I'd pick one up off Gumtree or second hand from somewhere. And as I said, putting 12s on it made a huge difference to the WV. But the thing with the WV played alright and sounded pretty good, apart from that thing where you had to really lightly touch the strings, as opposed to playing it normally. With the 12s on it, it did. Right, so I'm going to give up at that, but I might actually just stick with WV and play something on this, because I was quite enjoying that. I've not played this since the Download Festival. I'll play it into the big amp. Which is on, but there's no sound coming out. What's going on? That sounds like there's a dodgy connection somewhere. Maybe I won't be playing this very long. Well, that's one of the bad things about having so many pedals connected up. It's like one of these leads is not working properly. But I don't know which one it is. Something's just not quite cutting it. Not getting to that, so let's get to there. Right, it's not. Right, I'll just give up with that. This happened to me when I was demonstrating a guitar to my pals. One of the Bucky casters plugged it in, there was no sound. It's like, no, definitely working, definitely something wrong with the amp. So I've got some sort of dodgy lead connecting some of the pickups together there. I've been talking for 20 minutes anyway. Yeah, so mini guitar coming up as a Bucky caster. What I think I might, or a Bucky caster, I'll probably put humbucker in it to try and beef it up a little bit. Or maybe put another single coil here with a switch that turns them both into humbucker, because like a wee guitar, if you're camping or something like that, you basically just want as much volume as you possibly can. So if I put a single coil there and a reverse mount one there, and then an option to stick the both of them together as a humbucker, it'll give you the fattest possible sound out of a wee guitar, and then you should be able to use it for. But I mean, as far as the actual, if you don't include being finished or set up, as in you need to do the nut was pish, it was badly done. The bridge is fine, it's adjustable, it's metal. I had a guitar before, it was plastic. The tuners seem to work okay, they're on a strip thing, which is not ideal, but I mean, apart from the fact that it's the same with that guitar, when you turn them, they're very, very high, you want them lower geared. So when you turn it, it moves less. For a wee guitar like this, these will just be standard from a cheap guitar. The tuners, so they're a little bit fidgety to tune. Again, not what you want if you're a beginner. But even just playing it for the last, well, let's say 45 minutes, 25 minutes I've been doing this video, you get used to it. You know, you just modify your playing that wee slight way just to make it actually work. So it'll be interesting to see what happens maybe this week. I'll probably paint it tomorrow. See how good I can make this work. See if I can make it an acceptable guitar. And see if I can make it work with the wee battery amp, which it seems actually pretty good. I might actually sell that wee orange one. Mind you, that one doesn't sit in your belt, whereas the orange one does stick on your belt, which is pretty cool. That's why I get rid of the wee Marshall. It was very much, you just stick it in your pocket, and then that's you, ready to rock. And it's a sort of similar sounding thing. You know, you're never going to get like a really good amp at that size unless you're going for the Black Star Fly, which, although it's kind of the same sort of size, it's a bit thicker. I think these are about 60 or 70 quid though, so it's a completely different thing. These actually work. You know, it's like if you're sitting playing and you wanted an amp for the house that you could actually use as your amp, you'd get away with that. It's really good because what you can do is you can play, you get quite a good sound at a really low volume. You know, rather than, a lot of these amps struggle. When I used to play through this in the house and everything was turned down to nothing just to try and make it so it was a believable sound, whereas you can have that at sort of lower than your telly volume and it still sounds rocking. Right, 25 minutes, talking pish, rock and roll.